So let's begin. Our general question, starting here from the left alphabetically with Ms. Barrett, is maintenance of effort funding has been the norm for the past few years, could be again. If it is, what areas of the budget are under your microscope for changes? So let's go down the line.
It's a real shame that maintenance of effort has been the norm the last several years, and one of my first priorities is to work with our county government to make sure our budget is workable for our schools. We've been running it at a deficit budget, and it's not workable. One of my first priorities is strategic planning. So instead of making cuts straight across the budget, we need a comprehensive strategic plan for our school system. And that means taking a look at our community's values, talking to our parents, talking to our teachers, talking to our students. The school system is embarked on this process, but we need to do more listening, making sure that we have a strategic plan that reflects the values of our community. I've knocked on over 2,000 doors since March 1st, and one thing that I know is that our community values public education. That strategic plan is crucial because it shows those values, it makes sure we have a plan to implement them, and we're able to track our return on investment. It's not a matter of taking line items and looking at those one by one. We need that vision and that plan. That's my first priority.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Mr. Farrell. If we can stow the applause, please. We'll do that all at the end. Don't worry. Right now, we're going to try and get through all the candidates. Thank you. Mr. Farrell, 1 minute.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for being here. First of all, the relationship between the Board of Education and the charter government, the new charter government, definitely needs to be rebuilt. The trust factor needs to be brought back to the Board of Education so that the charter government will support the initiatives that the Board of Education bring forth. And look at the whole concept of the budget, not just salaries for selected individuals, teachers. We need to look at everything. You look at the bus drivers, the facility maintenance individuals, the janitorial staffs, the entire budget, or entire salary structure, I definitely would like to look at. Also facilities, to ensure that all the facilities are up to the state of the art as far as our teaching potential within the classroom, as well as the facilities themselves, to include the issue with the temporary classrooms that we have out. And last would be salaries and benefits, to ensure that no longer...
I think we'll start there. When the red light's on, the red light's on. So we'll move down the line. Ms. Hall, 1 minute.
At this point with MOE funding, if we are given MOE funding again, the cuts will be directly impacting the students in the classroom. The reality is our schools are going to suffer if we get MOE funding again. And when I'm elected to the board, I will advocate to end that so that we will not receive MOE funding again. But if we do, we're talking about increased classroom size, more students per classroom. We're talking about cutting some extracurricular classes. We're talking about ending some programs. None of those are good options. What we really need to do is not talk about a budget where we're going to be cutting things and looking at what our school needs and funding at that appropriate level.
Thank you. If we could please just hold on to the applause. Okay, we'll do all that at the end, but unfortunately if you start applauding, it's going to cut into all the time we have for the candidates. So let's, we'll do it all at the end. I promise we'll have a marvelous round of applause for the candidates. Mr. Carr.
The need for the maintenance of effort funding, I think, is gone. It's a provision that was put in place for bad economic times. In 2011, the state increased funding to schools by $71 million, but all of the schools collectively only increased funding by $30 million, and that's when maintenance of effort had to come in. The state said, if you don't at least keep up the same effort you did last year, we're not going to give you any extra money. Now, the economy's improved, and the reason for that going into place should be gone by this point. So I think working with the state and our new county government, maintenance of effort will not be a problem. This is not a time to cut. This is a time to use resources that we have, decide what kind of schools we want, agree upon it, and then fund them adequately.
Thank you very much. We'll move down to Mrs. Miller.
we've struggled over the last 4 years, but we've actually, with everything we've done, with Common Core, with the major changes to curriculum, with being able to at least provide something for our staff every single year that I've been on the board, we have really struggled to maintain. We've made reorganizations. What I would plan to do for the future is work together better with the county as far as the county strategic plan. We are working on our strategic plan. I sit on that committee. We are bringing it to the public in the next, we started last Monday. I would work for the county because I think the county and the school system need to become partners. The other thing that has become a problem for us is the legislative mandates, both the federal and the state mandates. Those have cost us a lot of money and time and investment, and we need to work with our legislators, which we have done, to put in legislation. Maintenance of effort was there to give us consistent, stable funding. So that can stay in place, but the law itself needs to be changed.
Thank you. Mr. Velasco.
You know, I think it's a great question. I certainly hope that we're not talking about this next year, because hope's not a strategy when it comes to maintenance of effort. You as the voter out there need to elect the officials at the charter government level that reflect values of education, because our budgets are set and reflect our values. So again, I hope we're not discussing it next year, because to me, next year it's not an option to receive maintenance of effort. Because, as many have said, the cuts will be deep and be very difficult. It will be our job to talk to as many folks possible to see what will get cut. The squeaky wheels can't always get the special preferential treatment when it comes to these issues. So again, it's your job as the voter to make sure you elect officials both at the Board of Education and at the county level that reflect education as their value. And we won't have this discussion next year.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
First off, I want to say it's great to be back here at FCC. I spent 15 years on the board here, and it's one of the great assets that we have here in Frederick County, as well as our public school system, so it's good to be back here. And as far as the maintenance of effort, we've received maintenance of effort for over 6 years, and so it's not something that's new to the county school system, but it is something that does make it tougher to do business. As Dr. Miller said, we've also received maintenance of effort from the state and federal government because we've not received increases there, while every year there's additional mandates that we have to pay for. So it's not just our local government, but our state and federal government have to step up the game. That being said, if we get maintenance of effort, we're in the process now of doing a new strategic plan, which we've been working on for many months now, and should be completed by the end of the year, and that will identify where tough choices have to be made. In this last budget, we made a very tough choice. We cut ELO positions, which are positions that help our folks that need help with, that don't speak English as their first language, to hire new school psychologists. Very tough choice, but one that we
Thank you, Mr. Young. Red light. We're going to come back to Ms. Cusimano, who joined us just a few minutes late, but not late enough to miss out on this round. So please, if you would, I can reread the question for you. It's maintenance of effort funding has been the norm for the past few years and could be again. If it is, what areas of the budget are under your microscope for changes?
I have to say that maintenance of effort funding is something that refers to local funding only, and I agree with Mr. Young that we really have to look more comprehensively at our state and federal funding as well, which have all remained flat over the last several years in this economic downturn. Just recently, the state announced that they were far off their target on their projected revenues for the year, which will translate into more expenses for our local government to absorb if the state can't pay their bills. And what we find at the Board of Ed is that we sort of absorb a lot of bills when people can't pay them. In the meantime, we're trying to educate our students who show up year after year and will show up year after year. We need to do the best that we can do in terms of education. It is an investment in our community and our future. And, you know, we have to do it within our means. So when we do have growing poverty in our county, I don't agree that the best answer is to increase taxes and put our hands in people's pockets and take more money. You know, we are changing and finding innovative ways.
Got to cut you off right there, because we've got another red light. I'm being very strict this evening. Please don't hold it against me. We're going to move on to the next round. Just so you're aware, it's 1 minute, and we'll signal at 15 seconds when you have to end. So Moving on to our next round, thank you candidates for your answers to that general question. This time around I'm going to be asking a specific question for each of you. And we're going to be going in reverse order, so Mr. Young, we're going to be starting with you. Do you see redistricting coming in the future? And if so, what areas of the county are you most concerned about?
Well, absolutely. We're probably going to be looking at having to do some redistricting. We're rebuilding Frederick High School, which will add some capacity. We just completed building the new North Frederick, which added capacity. We're going to be adding a new elementary school on the west side of Frederick. As well, we have a new school going in Urbana. What's happened is now we have extra capacity at different areas, and because of building the new school on the west side of Frederick Elementary School, it is going to have to force us to look at a redistricting and make sure that we're utilizing all the assets at the best we can. We have a lot of capacity at the high school level. The middle school is pretty good. The elementary school area is where we need the most capacity on the west end of Frederick and in the Urbana area, and eventually on the north side of Frederick. So we will have to do a redistricting, I would think, in the next couple of years when those new schools open. It's a painful process, but it's going to be necessary to do.
Very good. I'll move down to Mr. Velasco. Sir, do you feel Frederick County Public Schools' interpretation of Maryland charter school law is too stringent? Not stringent enough? Or not stringent enough? And is the school system funding charter schools fairly?
You know, I think charter schools have continued to grow in Frederick County, and they've continued to thrive and be successful. I think, you know, unfortunately, in tight budget years, we have to look at every school, whether it's a charter school or not, to make sure that we're fairly funding them. This is a complicated issue, particularly in an election year, and occasionally people seem to like to say that, you know, we want to close down charter schools, and that's far from the truth. And it's frustrating as a candidate to that got spread. You know, I think we have to look at the Maryland state legislature when it comes to setting those policies. Again, this is something that is often happening above, and as the board collectively decides that we want to make changes, we have to advocate at a much higher level. Again, I think charter schools have been successful in Frederick, and I hope they continue to maintain their success.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Miller, is the school system preparing adequately for the level of technology needed in classrooms, and is it adequately rolling it out?
Yes. We are in plans. We have our Technology Now plan. We've worked with the county commissioners to get Wi-Fi in our schools, to do BYOD. That has started. It should be in all our schools for this year. That has enabled students to bring their devices from home if they're comfortable, the devices they're comfortable learning on, they're comfortable using. The big thing with technology is the PARCC assessment. What they want to do with the PARCC assessment is replacing the MSA, and they want it to be an all-online test. That is where we are definitely struggling. We have gotten grants at our middle schools. We are doing everything we can to get the technology in the hands of the students. But the timeline of PARCC is way too fast, too quick, and like I said, we're doing everything we can to be ready for it. But the state timelines need to change, and that's what we're going to hopefully work with the legislators to slow some of that down.
Thank you. Kenko, what kind of relationship do you hope to have with the new charter government? How do you plan to work with them? For example, should we continue having a liaison?
The new charter government offers a big opportunity, since we have the district council people who will represent specific districts and the at-large people who will oversee the entire county. Hopefully we will have a county executive who is pro-education, and we'll have a county council who also wants to work to improve our schools, work to find ways to fund our schools adequately. The county liaison is something that I would hope to see that would continue. The school budget takes up a sizable portion of the county's budget, nearly 50%. So it's such a large part of the budget that we would need that type of close cooperation and communication with the county council in order to use that money wisely.
Thank you. Mrs. Hall, if elected, what would you do to help ensure that the school system brings in top quality staff at a time that it's losing employees at a very high rate?
Well, in order to attract quality staff and keep them here, we need to pay them competitively and offer competitive benefits. We have a lot of dedicated teachers, some who are staying here even when their contracts aren't being honored, but we are going to lose teachers. I heard a story from a principal recently. She was interviewing a teacher, she loved her, but they went to Montgomery County, not only because the pay was better, but because the technology is better. We need to make sure that we stay competitive, and the best way we can do that is to make sure our schools are fully funded so that we can offer those competitive benefits and wages. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Move down to Mr. Farrell. Mr. Farrell, as schools' populations grow, so too does the complexity of handling behavioral and other problems. What is your perspective on how well schools are handling these complexities? Is there an area for improvement?
I think there's always an avenue for improvement, and the type of behaviors that we're seeing in the schools, I don't think have an alarming pattern. The one alarming thing that is out there right now is the drug use, and it's being introduced into our school systems. That is not the fault of the school staff, the teachers, the facilitators, things like that. It's something that we have to look at as a society. I firmly believe that the behavior of our children begins at home, and the examples that we give them at home and send them into the school system. We can't expect the teachers or the faculty members to be the parental guidance or the individuals who are teaching our children values. That has to start at home. So that behavior in how we can help our teachers, give them additional training to identify behavior that may be alarming or maybe that something is a trend, is something I think we need to incorporate in the schools also.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Cusmano, 2 years ago, Frederick County teachers starting in the system had among the lowest salaries in the state. Has that improved, and can we do anything more about it?
It has not improved, actually. So our teacher salary scale is set in a way where our starting teachers do make a relatively low salary compared to the rest of the state, but our highest paid teachers rank 6th out of 24 counties in the state. And everything in between, you could do a matrix of where our teachers are positioned. We have, as a board, been working on a new salary schedule. We've been working along with the teachers union to develop a new salary scale. It will require funding to transition from the scale that we have to a new scale. But because of the nature of how we matrix our teachers' salaries and the equitability to all of our teachers, it's not as simple as sort of adding to the bottom line, which is something that has been examined and reviewed. But it is something that we're aware of and we are working on, and certainly something that we want to improve upon.
Thank you very much. Finally, Mrs. Barrett. Common Core has been a controversial issue. The state standards for new syllabus. If wanting to change or repeal them, what would you implement as an alternative, or do you support the Common Core?
Well, first of all, I think local control is very important to me. I think that's a crucial thing. When the incumbent elected members of the board voted to align our curriculum with Common Core, we are in for a host of challenges, and a couple of things are important. Common Core cannot be repealed in Frederick County. That's an important thing to note. But what we do need to do is we need to take a pause here, we need to take a breath, and we need to listen to our teachers, we need to listen to our students, we need to listen to our families. I have a third grader. When it's time for math homework, I have to take a deep breath and we have to have a hug because it's a little bit challenging. And I think that, I hear that from parents, and I think we need to take a breath and do that pause, and do that reflection. It's all about what we can do locally to improve our curriculum. And that's a conversation we need to have. And certainly, most importantly, we need to make sure that no high-stakes testing are attached to Common Core at this point, or our new curriculum. Thanks.
Very good, thank you. We're going to move on swiftly to our closing statement. That went quickly, didn't it? It seemed to. So we're going to move on to our closing statements now. You each have 1 minute to sum up, and we're going to start at this end with Liz Barron.
Fantastic. Thanks very much to the Frederick News Post, and thanks to all of you for coming this evening. It's been a brief here, but it's been a good opportunity. You know, tonight we talked briefly about the host of challenges facing our schools. And let's not spend another 4 years churning and talking without change. Slates, signs, party politics, destructive partisanship, that's not going to matter when we wake up on November 5th. Let's lead. I stepped into this race because I believe in our public schools. A strong, comprehensive public education is a civil right. Frederick County schools and our teachers, they made the difference in my life. And when I moved back to Frederick County, this is what I wanted for my own children. I'm going to put our kids first every single day by pushing back on destructive standardized testing. I'm going to put our kids first by ensuring their teachers are compensated as professionals. I'm going to make eliminating the achievement gaps between students who live in poverty, racial minorities, students who speak English as a second language a top priority. I'm going to grow real local control through advocacy and rebuilding the BOE's relationship with our county government. Let's be bold here. Over 40,000 kids cannot wait. That's what I'm going to do. Thank you.
Thank you. If you applaud now, you don't get to applaud later. Just a warning. Okay, Ms. Cusimano, 1 minute.
My name is Colleen Cusimano. My most important job is that of a mother to 3 students who have attended Frederick County Public Schools. I'm a systems engineer professionally. I'm a resident of the county of almost 25 years. I have invested and attended Board of Ed matters and paid attention to our education matters in our school system for more than a decade. I am well versed in the issues that we face and the challenges that we face and the benefits that we offer our students and the world-class education that we have historically offered here in Frederick County to our kids. I want the best for our students. I have always put our students first. I want the best for our shared community. I am very proud of my work on the Board of Education. I have opposed Common Core and have voted in opposition to the curriculum alignments with it all along. I've worked across party lines with legislators in Annapolis and Washington and intend to continue that work as the oppression of our school system and really the theft of our local control continues.
Thank you very much. Mr. Farrell, 1 minute to sum up.
Yes, sir. Thank you everyone again for being here tonight, taking time out of your evening, away from your families to be here to listen to us. We have a significant number of challenges that are coming to the Board of Education in the coming years. And as Mr. Kerr said, about 50% of your tax money goes into the Board of Education. And as taxpayers, you deserve the right and the confidence to know that that money is being spent as efficiently as possible in order to educate our children the best way that we can put into the system. That includes having the best teachers, the best facilities, the best technology. All that does come at a price, and it comes to the fact that we need to manage the budget correctly, and we don't have the luxury of wasting assets and resources. Montgomery County just announced today that they're overwhelmed. Their Board of Education is going back to the state to ask for more money because they can't handle the student throughput. What we have to do is strategically think as what's coming down the line so that we know the progression is coming from the east counties into Frederick and we don't get overwhelmed as well.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Hall.
Hi. I'm a stay-at-home mom to 2 young girls. And that's why I'm running. When they entered school, I felt the urge to get involved. As you get involved, you learn more, and then you want to do more. And I just want to do what's right for the county and for the children and for the community. I will be an advocate. I will work hard. I have worked hard now, even through some of the ugly spots. And believe me, I had no idea how ugly politics was. And I wish I could unknow some of the things I know. But I keep going, and I keep going because I know when I'm on there, on the board, I'm going to do a good job. I'm going to listen, and I'm going to advocate. And I'm going to advocate here and in Annapolis and wherever I need to be, because that will be my job. It's making sure that Frederick County has quality education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Cup, 1 minute.
My entire professional life has been in education. I got my associate's degree right here at FCC, my BA from Hood, my master's from Towson, and my doctorate from Morgan State University. I was a 4th grade FCPS teacher. I even drove a school bus while I was completing my teacher training. I spent 10 years in high tech as an instructional designer, trainer, and technical writer. I returned to the classroom 20 years ago as a college English professor, specializing in high school graduates who arrived at college unprepared. I spent the last 15 of those years right here at Frederick Community College, not just in the classroom, but in leadership positions, in budget and planning and governance, curriculum and course approval, and review and development, teacher hiring, teacher evaluation, and professional development. I've led strategic planning, academic planning, and assessing student learning. I'm currently co-chairing the reaccreditation study. I offer these same skills that I bring to FCC every day to Frederick County Public Schools. I hope you'll agree and give me one of your votes.
Thank you very much. April Miller.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. I'm a current board member, I'm a parent, and I'm a local optometrist. I want to tell you a little bit about my family. My family moved here in 1979, primarily for the school system. That was the reason we moved here. People are still moving here today for the school system. The schools have changed the course of my life. They mold me into the person that I am today. My 3 children, I have one at every single level, elementary, middle, and high school. They are still taking advantage of the incredible opportunities that are provided by FCPS. And there's been some negative, a lot of negative here tonight, but we still have amazing schools. We are doing incredible things. And in the last 4 years, we have made a difference on this Board of Education and how this Board of Education responds to community. When I got on, there was no responsiveness to the community, and now there is. It's also come to my attention that I was a single issue candidate 4 years ago, and can we say Turk Math? And in a way, they're right. I care deeply about every single issue that has come before this Board of Ed and the impact that our decisions have on our students, our families, the community, and our staff. And I would like to continue to be your voice on the BOE. All right, red light again, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Just about to say, but...
I know, but I could go on for an hour. It's okay. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. Now moving on to Mr. Blass.
This election is about status quo or change. You know, I've spent a good part of my career in education, from pre-K through 12, colleges and universities, and graduate programs around the country. I have traveled to 38 states. I've seen some of the most beautiful, richest parts of the country and some of the most poor parts of the country. I met with students, faculty, staff, and community leaders around this country, and they all said the same thing. Help us. Help us get out of our poor situation. Education is our hope, as well as the richest part of the communities. Help us maintain what makes this community so great. One thing holds that power. It's education. It's time to be bold. It's time to be visionary. And I think a little audacious when it comes to this. Because you know what? You only get one chance to educate the children of Frederick County.
Thank you very much. Mr. Young.
Again, thank you for being here. A lot of people have asked me why I run, and it all goes back to my beginning. I was the product of 2 elementary school teachers here in Frederick County, both my dad and my mother, and my dad eventually went on to be in politics, where he still is today in the state senate, and my mom stayed in the school system for 40 years as as an elementary school administrator, and I think one of the best principals that Frederick County's ever had. From that, they taught me not only that education was important, but community service was important. And ever since I graduated from the University of Maryland in 1986, I've been active in the community, I've been active in the schools. I started in 1986 teaching junior achievement at TJ High School, going in every week teaching applied economics in Mr. Law's class. I did that for over 15 years. I served on the Academy of Finance Board here at our Career and Technology Center. I currently teach at Mount St. Mary's. I coach at Hood College and at Walkersville High School. To me, education is the important factor that allows people to move themselves up. And I think it's critical that we have people that have financial experience. That's what I do in my professional life on the board, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you so much, candidates. And now, audience, you may give your round of applause.